Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So Gavin Newsom has made waves lately because he's been taking on Donald Trump head on over Donald Trump's decision to enact mass deportations, which is precisely what he campaigned on. It's what a lot of people voted for. It's why California as a state moved 10 points to the right. And he's upset because there were these ICE protests turned riots that were taking place, and Trump decided to send in the National Guard. Newsom was complaining about, oh, we have chaos because of Trump, so Trump tries to rectify it. And then Newsom blamed Trump for causing the chaos because he was trying to rectify it. He is defying all logic, but that's what these people do. That's what these sociopathic types will do. He's just caring about power right now, and it's working to his credit because him being a total diva clown has caused his chances of being the 2028 nominee on the Democrat side go significantly higher. And you're seeing this. He wants to run for president. He's aiming for it. And I thought, why not do another election prediction video between Gavin Newsom and JD Vance? This was the first 2028 map that we dropped, and we did that all the way back, and I believe it was like late November, early December. And Donald Trump has been president for 5 months now to the date, and I thought, why not drop an updated prediction between Gavin Newsom and JD Vance. I have Newsom choosing Gretchen Whitmer for his VP. He's probably going to need to pick a woman because that's how things work on the Democrat side. It's all about the DEI, and she is from a Rust Belt state, so it kind of would make sense why he would want to pick her. Also, I have JD Vance selecting Marco Rubio. Rubio, he's improved a lot. He has the, Hispanic appeal, but he also, is just like that number 3 in the Trump admin as Secretary of State. So everybody gets slid up a spot, and I think it would, be a relatively balanced, solid ticket that could win on the Republican side. So we're going to dive into this and fill out the map, but really quickly have to tell you guys about our great friends over at the Wellness Company. Are you noticing thinning hair, a bigger forehead, or more strands in your brush? You're not alone. Stress, aging, hormones, and nutrient deficiencies can all trigger hair loss. No worries though, the Wellness Company has a doctor-formulated solution that works from within and on the surface. It's called Roots, a topical hydrogel powered by 7 peptides that support the body's natural repair processes to promote visibly thicker, fuller hair. With consistent daily use, Roots helps extend the growth phase and reduces shedding. It includes methylene blue, which supports mitochondrial function and delivers antioxidant benefits directly to the follicle. Whether you're dealing with postpartum hair loss, hormonal shifts, or early signs of aging, Roots targets the root cause, literally. Head to twc.health/redeagle and use code REDEAGLE to get 10% off plus free shipping. Again, that's twc.health/redeagle and use code REDEAGLE to get 10% off. All right, guys, so we're going to start off filling out the safe red states, the states that are going to go Republican by 10 points or more. And this includes all of the usual suspects, including 4 out of the 5 electoral votes there in Nebraska, the Great Plains states, the Mountain West, the Deep South, Appalachia. Ohio's now in that column. Iowa's now in that column. Florida is now in that column. And Texas is also now in that column. We'll also slide Maine's 2nd district into the safe Republican column, the states that are going to go red by 10 points or more. Out of the gate, Republicans are at 219, so you have a very high floor. Now, for the Democrat side, they will take the western seaboard. I actually think California could be even closer, kind of like an anti-home state effect. You saw it for Kamala Harris. I think you'll see it for Gavin Newsom, but still, I believe that it will probably end up staying as a solid Democrat state, but it is getting a little bit closer and closer as the election cycles go on. So I think that might do it. I think Colorado is going to be in the safe blue column as well. So the Democrat ceiling, we forgot Massachusetts there. That I think should do it at 126. That's not very good, by the way, for Gavin Newsom. Now, it is true that there's 193 states that are going to be in the toss-up category. Those are states that could end up going either way. And we are going to fill out the likely Republican states, the states that are going to go red by 5 to 10 points. And I believe there's going to be 2 of them. Arizona is one of them. Trump won it by 6 almost, and this is a state that, was seen as going away from the Republicans. It rebounded, albeit with a new coalition, and Arizonans not a fan of California. A lot of people leaving California for Arizona and Nevada, which also voted for Trump by 3 to 4 points, especially if he gets no taxes on tips done. That will improve the Republican Party brand in the state significantly. So those 2 states are going to help Vance inch closer to 270 electoral votes. Now, there's a lot on the Democrat side that I think will go Democrat between 5 and 10 points. Illinois, I think that Gavin Newsom is somebody who could end up losing to Vance by like 3 nationally. And a lot of that is also going to come from shift in these deep blue states. Illinois, Chicago is getting less blue. The rurals keep getting redder, and that's a winning recipe for Republicans to improve in the state. It is true that it voted for Kamala Harris by 11 points, but that was still down significantly. I think you could make the case Illinois and New York and possibly Rhode Island will be under 10. Vance is somebody who is Catholic. You have 2 Catholics on the ticket. That's going to help out with appeal. I think Rubio will help out the ticket among Hispanic voters as well, because some people are questioning if it's a Republican phenomenon, a Trump phenomenon, or both. I think a Vance-Rubio ticket can strike the balance and continue the Hispanic gains, especially because Newsom is not that really popular, at least when he runs statewide. I don't think he's going to have much appeal nationwide, especially as he's going to try to really go for those Rust Belt states. But is he even going to get them? I don't know. In terms of the other states that'll be likely Democrat, honestly, I think you could make the case for Virginia. It's just not moving. Northern Virginia Democrats might lose some. I think it's going to be offset by some of the other smaller metros where Democrats continue to gain. I think it's going to be like D+5. Maine at large, I think, as well. Even if it gets a little bit closer, I still think D+5 is more than fair for Maine at large because that first district keeps getting bluer, actually. So now we will move on to the more competitive states here. And I think we'll just fill these out going from East Coast to West Coast, starting off with the state of New Hampshire. This one's a tough one because I think you could make the case that New Hampshire could be a state that Republicans end up picking off. And I think we'll have a better picture after the midterms. If they somehow have an upset in the Senate race, that would be huge. But it is a state where the registration data for the Republicans continues to be phenomenal. And Donald Trump in the state shocked the world when he got within, I believe it was like 3 percentage points. It was razor thin. And I think Vance did help out to a certain degree in New Hampshire. He was the one that was doing the rallies there, not Trump. And the state was within 3 points. And if Trump probably spent more energy on New Hampshire, he could have even flipped the state. So there's a lot that we really don't know about what's going on in New Hampshire. I think it's going to be close. Maybe you say just a very, very narrow victory for Gavin Newsom. But New Jersey, this might be controversial, but I think you could make the case that this is a state that Vance could possibly pick off as well. I think it's too early. If Republicans flip the governorship this fall, I'd be more emboldened to put it into the Republican column. But I think it's just going to be super close. I guess I just don't really, you know what, actually, I think you could see it happen. I really think you could see it happen just based on the current trends that we see, and because Vance and Rubio would kind of be that 1-2 punch that would have a lot of appeal to certain areas in New Jersey. I think that they would do even better and continue the trends in the northern part of the state, but also run it up in the southern part. They do very well with Hispanics and Italians and certain other groups in the state. And I think that could be enough given the fact that Newsom is not really all that popular. And I think it could be a state that, a lot of experts will have going blue, but it will surprise people once again. So you have North Carolina. I think North Carolina is going to stay in the Republican column. It's kind of titanium, lean Republican. Republicans are doing well in the voter registration data. Trump won it by pretty much the same margin that he won the state by in 2016, but the map does look a little bit different. For example, the Charlotte area is a little bit bluer. There's more growth in the Research Triangle, Raleigh-Durham, but you're doing much better in the eastern part of the state. Even if you're losing ground due to growth in the western part of the state, it's still a state that's going to go Republican. You have a competent Republican Party there, and it's another state you have a lot of people fleeing California towards as well, so keep that in mind. The state of Georgia, this is one I actually could see Gavin Newsom end up going out there and picking off just because of trends, because of growth. It's going to be razor thin, but it's kind of like Republicans are trading Georgia because of the Atlanta growth for a state like New Jersey, for example, and they're doing better in certain parts of the Rust Belt and the Southwest. But because of growth, I think Georgia finally could be that domino to fall, but it's like you're trading New Jersey for Georgia at that point. Nebraska second. I still think it's going to remain in the Democrat column. It got a little bit closer, but those Omaha suburban trends are not really all that favorable for Republicans. Minnesota as well. Again, it's a state where the Republican Party has been incompetent. I think it matters less at a presidential turnout election for sure, but still Minneapolis is kind of like the Chicago of Minnesota. The rurals are very red, even redder than, Wisconsin rurals in many cases, but still the state is kind of run by the Twin Cities, their suburbs, which have moved left in the recent decade, that, the rurals or the smaller metros moving right hasn't been able to really offset that. And also it's a much whiter city. And that means that you have a lot of white progressive types that would be relatively unmovable. I think Vance could appeal to Minnesotans well because he has that Midwestern Rust Belt vibe. And I think that could help him out in the other states. But Minnesota, I think, is just too much of an anomaly. And Illinois, I think, will move right because you have, a big Hispanic population in Chicago, a big Asian population in Chicago, even the black population in Chicago. It's moved right by somewhat, and that's going to help you out in the state. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to win the state, but you're going to do better. But Minnesota, you don't really have a lot of groups that are trending to the right necessarily, especially in the population centers. So that's it for Minnesota. I think we'll do New Mexico before we do the Rust Belt 3. And I think New Mexico is going to get closer. I just don't know if I'm ready to say, oh, this is a state that's going to be ready to flip. I think that you have a lot of reason to believe Republicans could do well there because, A, there's a big oil industry, but they've always kind of had that, and that's always helped Republicans. But you also have a higher share of the electorate that's Hispanic, and they move to the right. But it does seem as if the ceiling for Republicans are a little bit closer to that, and there's a lot of white liberal types in Albuquerque that are going to be tough to crack. So that leaves us with 3 states here: Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Whitmer's going to be picked for Michigan, but I think we'll save that for last. I think we'll start with the state of Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania is a state that has moved to the right. It continues to do so by registration. And Vance is from, southeastern Ohio. This is a guy that has the ability to appeal to a place like Pennsylvania. I think he even helped Donald Trump out in the Rust Belt. I think Trump would have won regardless of his VP. But I think that you had somebody like Vance who helped out. In Pennsylvania, Philadelphia is actually getting redder. I think the suburbs are not going to be as blue as people think because of the high working class population. Same thing goes for Pittsburgh. And there's a lot of room to grow in the northeastern part of the state. And I think Vance, with his, Catholic identity and appeal, can relate well to the Polish voters, the Irish voters, etc., and the Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area. So 285 already. He crosses the finish line. There's 2 more states here, Wisconsin and Michigan. I think Wisconsin, it's going to remain a close state. It's a very old state, and you have a lot of, I guess you would say, these white boomer types, and a lot of them are liberal for some odd reason. And the younger voters are very conservative there, believe it or not. But it's the older voters that are kind of holding it back. And wow, the wow counties have grown and they've gotten more liberal, but they're still decently Republican overall. I think that you are going to see the state go Republican in this matchup. Newsom is awful, but like it's going to be too close for comfort once again. And we understand, 2 a.m. in Wisconsin. We saw it in 2024. Trump was able to win. Eric Hovde fell short, sadly. But I think Vance, because he has like that Midwestern appeal, he is a populist. He's going to do relatively well in the state of Wisconsin. And he's going to offset some of these other possible negative things, negative trends, externalities, whatever you want to call them. So that leaves us with the state of Michigan. Now, keep in mind, Gavin Newsom's VP in this video is Gretchen Whitmer. However, I still think that JD Vance, despite being a proud Buckeye, is going to be able to have the upper hand because of the industry in Michigan, because of the, populations and the certain, ethnic type of whites in the Detroit metro area. You're talking about like the Arab population. Donald Trump is somebody who, in his foreign policy approach, and Vance is the same way, has developed a unique sweet spot to appeal to these voters. And I understand that there's, all this talk about war in the Middle East right now. I think it's going to calm down. I think Trump is going to make deals. I think that you could talk about the conflicts in the Middle East possibly being ended by then. Some people will say that's a little bit of a wish cast. I think that helps out, because if you give these voters a reason to vote for you, they're going to remain Republican for quite some time. And I think that somebody like Vance and is even more, I guess you would say, less interventionist foreign policy is going to be able to get those voters. And I think he'll do very well in a place like Macomb County. I think he'll do very well in the rural areas. And overall, I think he's a great fit for the state. I think that he'd win the state by, I would say lean, because Whitmer's the VP and maybe she'd be able to corral some independents. I don't think she'd help out by a lot. We could say the margin's going to remain under 2 points, but this is what the election map would look like. I have JD Vance at 310, Gavin Newsom at 228. And this is, assuming that Trump's approval is like in the high 40s, maybe low 50s. If it's higher than that, I think you could be talking about a Vance slide. I think Newsom is an awful candidate. I think it would be kind of a repeat of the election that we saw between Trump and Harris come 2028, if anything. The only reason why it wouldn't maybe be as high turnout for Vance is because Trump is kind of a unique figure in that regard, but I still think that Vance would be able to get out a lot of the Trump voter base anyways to win, and he would be able to defeat Gavin Newsom single-handedly by a decent margin. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.